My name is Jonathan Casey. For my second language, that would be, well, it's actually really my fourth language, but the languages that I'm going to the Writer Center about is German. The class is German 211. That's a good question. Maybe one of the more challenging things is that it takes longer. It takes longer to actually get the material out there. More often than not these days, the grammatical structures are there. I think I have those pretty well taken care of. I may not know all the exact words, all the exact conjunctions or other transition words, but I find that in general, I can kind of construct a sentence. What I normally will do if I don't know like a vocabulary word or other relevant word is that I'll just put the English version in there or make some sort of notes and then continue typing the rest of it in German and then look that up later. I mainly do that because I'm kind of if I'm putting together thoughts and have some good thoughts to put together, I don't want to stop. Take the time, go over, look at the dictionary, scramble for a minute or two to figure out which of the words I want and go back. I approach a paper like the way I would approach writing a paper in English. You think about some ideas, whether you think about that in English or German or another language is not really relevant as long as you have general ideas and picking a topic or figuring out how the topic fits whatever you want to write about kind of goes from there. What worked well, I guess, in this last paper was to actually, starting early definitely had helped a lot in terms of both of improving my grade, which is always a nice thing to do, but also just with making it a little bit easier of being able to set it aside and come back to it from time to time. Well, generally what I try to do is I try to write, some amount. I usually try to write a little bit longer than the original length, just because I find that on my first pass I'm going to throw out some sentences I might, that don't work as well. I generally try to, and I also do this for papers that are written in English, try to set it down for a few days and come back to it. Sometimes there's only a 1 or 2 day turnaround for that because the nature of work and homework and everything else. But I think that so that's kind of the method that I use. As I said before, one of the things is just, when there's words I don't know, use the words in English there, or put an approximate German word and put some typographical notes like a question mark or underline to emphasize that I need to come back to this later. And that's just little tips that I use in Word to help my ability to find stuff more quickly. So the other part I believe was how do I go about it after I actually get the first draft back from the instructor. At that point, it's pretty straightforward because we have all these typographical marks that indicate what we need to do. Some of them I see and they're kind of obvious. I mean, sometimes if you're getting the N on the end of a dative plural noun, once you see that, you're like, yeah, okay, fine, I should have got that. I mean, those are pretty simple. Ones involving case are usually fairly straightforward. Typographical errors, again, are kind of pretty easy to spot once you've had someone else spot them for you, if you've missed them on your own for whatever reason. And the ones dealing with word choice are probably the most challenging. I find that on the first, I find that I try to use new words in my writing when I write that. I don't know if that's resulting in my grading going down. I mean, maybe at some point it is, but at least I'm having the benefit of trying out new words and seeing if they work. So I don't know if it's a successful learning strategy for the class. Well, it's probably a successful learning strategy for me. I'm not sure if it's successful for whatever grade or if the teacher takes that into consideration. So I think that really kind of varies. At some point, usually there's at least 1 or 2 items that I will have difficulty with, finding with. Either I've come to the writing center, or sometimes I just ask someone else at a similar intermediate level. I'm stumped. Can you look at this? And I know that we're probably not supposed to do this, but sometimes having someone at a similar level look at it and go, that is the case, and that's mainly it. Or I'll ask the professor. Don't really know. I look at things when it comes to homework for both German classes and for other classes as a matter of what tasks do I have to do and when they are done. So the number is probably somewhere between maybe 5 and 6, 5 and 10. It's really kind of hard to say. Well, I've used Duden for things that are impossible to find out through other means. Duden is good. I mean, I use the online one. Generally, what I've been using during the semester, and which has worked fairly well for me, is an online site called dict.cc, or www.dict.cc, and it's an English to German site that started off with I think it started off with the core of whatever Beolingus had, and Beolingus being a site out there that I think we've been recommended to use. And it's a user-driven site, so you actually are able to get more sometimes modern and more technical terms that are sometimes useful. You also sometimes get stuff that's not marked as slang when it kind of is, so there are some risks, to using that. But it's been fairly straightforward, and it's also a useful site I find because it has pronunciations by native speakers, not only from Germany but also from Austria, Swiss. So you actually get a little bit of different accents on common words, which is kind of nice to hear if you're not sure how a word is supposed to be really best pronounced. I think in general, start early is always a good thing, and that's just a general good study skill overall. If you have time to work with tutors, that is useful. If you're in the introductory classes like the first or second semester, dumb down your sentences. Try to write more simply, because that's really what the goal of the assignments are. But also, when you can, don't be afraid to expand and try to find things that within reason, expand yourself a little bit, so you can write a little bit more creatively when you can. It's a balancing act, because you don't want to write too much that's too hard for someone else to understand. But you also, if you never expand your writing, well, it's never going to grow past whatever you need to do for the class. So it depends on maybe your attitude towards the class. If you're just doing the class because you have to take the 4 semesters and you need to get them done, well, fine. You do what you need to do and you get it done. If you're thinking that the skill might be useful beyond those 4 classes, you may want to expand on a little, because I